This is KGW News at 11.
Our top story at 11, though, the family of a man shot and killed by police takes to the streets demanding answers from officers. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maggie Vespa, and 36-year-old Andre Gladden died in January. And since then, a grand jury has cleared the officer who killed him of any wrongdoing. But today, Gladden's family and supporters gathered in Northeast Portland. KGW's Art Edwards was there. And Art, this family will not stop fighting for answers.
Well, Maggie, that's exactly what they're saying. They want to make sure they shine a spotlight on what happened to Gladden. They say they're not going to stop until they get answers to all of their questions. A number of family members made the trip from California to take part in today's rally right here in Northeast Portland.
First name, Andre. Last name, Gladden. Wolfpack.
The gathering for Andre Gladden went to the streets of North Portland. People marching in the middle of Killingsworth. They stopped at the intersection of Killingsworth and MLK Boulevard to try to get the message across. The marchers eventually made their way to the North Precinct as officers looked on. Gladden was shot and killed by a Portland police officer in January. According to police, he showed up at a stranger's house in Southeast Portland, pulled a knife, and cornered Officer Consider Vosu. Police say the officer tried using a taser before shooting Gladden 3 times. A grand jury cleared Officer Vosu of any wrongdoing. This old photo doesn't show it, but Gladden lost an eye after an old gunshot wound to the head and was legally blind. He could only see shadows and shapes, according to his family. They say that he would never pull a knife.
He loved to make people happy. He loved to put a smile on people's face. And he's not confrontational at all.
Now they're looking for answers.
There's an echo in these streets. There's a cry in these streets. And if they're not going to be peaceful and be a peace officer, they need to throw down their badges and go home.
Now, Gladden's family was joined today by family members of other people who have died in police shooting. The Gladden family says that they're going to be continuing to do these kinds of things until they get the answers that they are looking for. Back to you.
Yeah, it's just tragic all around. Art Edwards live for us tonight. Art, thank you very much. And to be transparent, here's where 2 stories tonight collide, because one of the men at that vigil in March was arrested this morning for this.
This is the last anybody will see of this child rapist.
Thank you very much.
So last month, Jeffrey Black streamed live on Facebook as he stole a portrait of a former and disgraced mayor from City Hall. This morning, he also streamed his arrest for the theft and for burning the photo. He filmed that too. The portrait was of ex-Portland Mayor Neil Goldschmidt. Black said he did this to stand for victims of sex abuse and for people shot by police.
We burned the photo of Neil Goldschmidt in honor of both his victims and the victims of City Hall, including police murder victims, because the killing must stop, and this is a deliberate act of civil disobedience to send a message.
So why the outrage? Well, Goldschmidt was mayor in the 70s and later became governor. And in 2004, he admitted to raping a 13-year-old while mayor, but he didn't face any charges because the statute of limitations was up.
We've earned the right to be here, and next year just come out and do even more now that we got a taste of this.
All right, we're changing gears here, turning to sports, and people wondered if that soundbite last night was a hint, and it turns out Ducks Nation Sabrina Ionescu is coming back to Oregon next year. The 21-year-old point guard announced tonight she is foregoing an all but certain #1 draft slot in the WNBA because there's something special happening in Eugene.
She gets free. Hit by Richards and a chance at a 4-point play.
Trumpeted as the point guard who led the Ducks to their first ever Final Four and the player who turned Oregon women's basketball into a consistent Pac-12 contender.
It's going to go down as one of the best seasons in history.
Sabrina Ionescu says she just can't leave Eugene yet. In her letter to Ducks Nation, Ionescu writes, "I bet from the outside looking in, when people see me and they see this season we've had as a team and this season I've had as a player, they probably think she's gotta go pro." But recounting the success of the last 3 years, including 2 trips to the Elite Eight and last night's Final Four matchup, the California native countered, writing, "Yes, this has been an incredible incredible journey, but no, this is not as good as it gets. I couldn't be happier to announce that I'm coming back to the University of Oregon for the 2019-2020 basketball season. She continued, we're building a program, and not just any program. We're building a program that wins national championships, starting, I hope, with this next one. The move comes as excitement surrounding Ionescu's future reaches a fever pitch. Earlier this week, NBA superstar Steph Curry gave her a shout-out.
Yeah, she's a legend in her own right, for sure.
But tonight, KGW sports analyst John Canzano says it's clear she's invested in Oregon's future.
Well, I thought yesterday as they left the building that she didn't look like a player who was done with college. And what I mean by that is she wasn't off walking with her own people. She was walking with her teammates. They were all engaged with each other. And, it occurred to me at the time that they still very much look like a team.
He added the WNBA's salary range is nowhere near that of its male counterpart. One more year in Oregon's spotlight could only grow her brand.
I would expect if you are Nike, if you're Adidas, if you're Under Armour, that the asking price for Sabrina Ionescu is going to go through the roof. I think her brand is going to be big. I mean, I think Serena Williams big. That's how big she can be.
Well, that's an awesome prediction. And we, of course, have Ionescu's full letter to Ducks Nation at kgw.com. And staying with sports tonight, attorney Michael Avenatti, very different note in sports, is making more claims against Nike, saying the company made bribes to college basketball players. He says this includes former Oregon Duck Bol Bol, and he tweeted out documents that he says shows evidence. Avenatti has been charged with trying to extort $20 million from Nike. Prosecutors say he threatened to release damaging information about the company if they didn't pay him. Nike, for its part, has released a statement saying it won't respond to someone facing fraud and extortion charges and who is trying to distract from March Madness. The company says it will continue to work with investigators. And the Ducks spring football practice has been underway for a few weeks. And today, Coach Mario Cristobal invited cameras in for an open practice. Players told us these sessions have been intense. Lots of attention to detail, watching game and practice footage. In other words, spring ball is no joke.
We made it a point of emphasis. This is here. This is camp mentality. This is a physical and a strong step that we will not ever skip. I mean, at Oregon, spring ball means something.
Yeah, it's huge. It's just got to keep climbing. Definitely, we've made a lot of mistakes this spring, but we're learning from them, and that's what it's all about. So we'll get better and get ready for fall.
All right, and good luck to them. The Ducks season kicks off on August 31st with a home opener against Auburn University. Well, changing gears here, stormy weather is rolling in and rolled in all day from the coast to the valley, even the metro area. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri has been tracking it all day and all night. So, Joe, what are you watching at this point?
It's going to roll in the rest of tonight and roll in a good part of tomorrow. So if you have any outside plans for tomorrow, you might want to think about maybe staying inside. We're going to be seeing a relentless amount of rain move through here in just the next 24 hours. So far this month, we've seen about 1/8 of an inch of rain. We're going to go well over an inch here in the next 24 hours. So in the next 24 hours here locally in the metro area, anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rain possible. Average rainfall for the entire month is 2.73 inches. So yeah, I think April is going to go down as a wet month for sure. If this forecast keeps on track is what we have been seeing here the last several days. So far today in Salem, you've seen over an inch of rain. Portland, you just went over 1/2 of an inch of rain here in the last 24 hours. You can see where some of those heavier showers are, and this is what you're going to be running into the rest of tonight and into much of tomorrow as well. You can see throughout the metro area, we'll zoom out a little bit. A lot of those yellows are moving in just west of downtown Portland. So give it another 15-20 minutes, you'll be seeing some heavier cells move through. And over the mountains, if you're going to be seeing a snow level at 5,000 feet near Timberline Lodge, that's where most of the accumulation will be, anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow possible. We do have some watches and warnings. This is the flood watch in effect really throughout the central Oregon coast and a good part of the central and southern part of the Willamette Valley. There is going to be the threat of some flooding, potentially seeing some urban street flooding late tomorrow and into the afternoon hours as well. I'll talk more about that in detail coming up in about 10 minutes.
All right, Joe, thank you. We'll see you soon. In the meantime, an Oregon Department of Corrections officer claims his supervisor shocked him with a taser, which he says is part of a culture of violence and hazing. According to our news partners at the Statesman Journal, Michael Kilgus has filed a tort claim against the department, and he says the tasing happened when he was training at Coffee Creek Correctional Facility in Wilsonville. The Department of Corrections sent us a statement saying the supervising officer has been fired. They also say they don't tolerate hazing and that staff safety is a priority. Well, this motorhome fire just north of Kaiser, no surprise looking at this, snarled up traffic on I-5 for quite a while this afternoon, and crews say it was caused from a blown tire. Firefighters responded to northbound I-5 a little after 5, and as you can see, the motorhome was completely engulfed in flames. It was a total loss. Thankfully, though, everyone was able to get out okay. And take a look at the damage to this Portland police car. Police say this was caused by an impaired driver who crashed into it when the officer was still inside. Early this morning, 2 officers were actually investigating a report of a suspicious person in northeast Portland near 79th and Sandy. And police say a car with no headlights rear-ended one of the patrol cars. The officer was not seriously hurt, but Jeremy Heisler, seen here, who they say is the driver, was arrested and taken to the hospital with minor injuries.